Michael Merritt. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Oh, hi there, Douglas. I'm all right, then. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, no problems. Listen, we've brought you on to talk about the rally on Sunday. So could you give our listeners some of the background to the reasons for calling that rally?
Well, look, I'll do my best. Basically the Department of Public Housing, the Office of Housing in Paran, Fitzroy and Richmond, basically the plan is to sell off the open space land where the gardens and trees are and playgrounds and all that sort of thing to private developers. And some of the residents and tenants are, together with the Councillor Stephen Jolly and a group of other people, are having a rally to protest against that sell-off to the private developers. And it's called Defend Public Housing, Protect Our Open Space. It's a community rally. It's on Sunday, March the 24th at 2 p.m. at Atherton Gardens Public Housing Estate. That's the corner of Brunswick and Gertrude Street, Fitzroy.
How much consultation has there been with the tenants that are likely to be affected by this?
Consultation?
Yeah.
There has been some consultation, but it's fairly limited from the Office of Housing in regard to their master plan at this stage. I would like to see a lot more community consultation happen and for the community to be more involved in the changes that are going to happen. I believe there has been a couple of meetings with the Office of Housing. That's about all I can say on that.
Michael, the government says it wants to have a mix of public and private housing on these two estates, or there may even be more in the long term that are going to be affected, where the open space in those places is so invaluable to the local communities. Yet they also say there will be no encroachment on open space. It's pretty hard to see how they can do that, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I'm quite concerned about the trees, actually. There's a lot of nice old trees around the North Richmond housing estate, which I wouldn't like to see the developers bring in their chainsaws and chop down. I think that at the moment, I think it's the City of Yarra's recommendation that they only build on the grey areas where there's concrete, such as car parks, existing car parks, that type of thing. However, I don't know what the Office of Housing master plan is, so I've got no real idea and I don't think many people have, about where they actually want to build these private units. And that's why I think more community consultation is needed. And, it needs to be more transparent. And I hope that when there is private residential units on public housing space, that it's more socially included. There's not any big walls put up between the public housing and the private units. Obviously change is inevitable. Something's going to happen in the future to do with public housing and the open spaces. However, this rally on Sunday is to try and minimise that impact. It's just a rally that I'm participating in as a tenant of the Richmond housing estate, because I believe the open spaces are very important to the community. There's already enough concrete in Richmond, and there's going to be a lot more, obviously, but we need to all work together to try and create the best environment for everybody to live in.
What happens, and that last one I think is quite important, what happens if this plan goes ahead and you lose your public space? What impact will that have on people living in those flats?
Well, I think particularly for the people who live in the towers, and at the moment I live in one of the towers, where you don't have any garden or veranda or any space, I think if the common areas and open spaces between the towers were all built on by private developers, then I think psychologically that that would be a very bad thing for everybody. I believe on the North Richmond housing estate, there's 1,500 children, so where would they play? And they wouldn't have a backyard. The common areas are basically like a backyard where you can play cricket or just sit under a gum tree or, just have a bit of space. And there's a lot of urban development with, buildings 6 stories, 8 stories high in Richmond, on the private market. And I think it's going to be a lot more of that. And I'm just a bit worried that, there's not enough trees and gardens for people to just relax and enjoy. And, it's a bit of a worry, actually. So.
And indeed, we say on this program regularly, the need is for more public housing rather than less, and yet we've got governments, and the previous government was just as bad at this, which are in fact turning public housing over to the private sector and building less and less public housing.
Well, this is right. I believe there's thousands and thousands of people on the waiting list, and the waiting lists are very long, like 8 to 10 years, something like that. And
it's 13, I think.
They don't seem to be building any more affordable public housing, which is a bit of a worry.
What's the feeling on the estate about all these changes? If you talk to other tenants?
Yes, a lot of the tenants that I just happened to pass and talking seem concerned, but they have no power to do anything themselves. That's why I think this Friend Public Housing rally on Sunday is going to be a great thing for people just to join in and have a say, power in numbers and all that sort of thing. Let the government know that, you can't just sell off all the common areas without involving the community.
I mean, my own knowledge is that, in those high-rise estates is many different ethnic groups, but they seem to be working quite well together on this. Is that your experience?
Yes, I would say that, that there are quite a few people from diverse backgrounds going to be at the rally and be involved. For sure, yeah. I mean, around the housing estate, there are so many different cultures, sort of quite a diverse mix, and I think, we all need to work together to, create the best environment possible for everybody, and that's why this Defend Public Housing rally is a good opportunity for everybody to get involved and just, let their voices be counted.
Michael, also, the two experiences so far, Kensington and Carlton, where this has happened, have seen the private developers then running the whole estate, including the public housing sector. So the public sector virtually opts out altogether, which is, again, even more damaging, isn't it?
Yes, well, it seems that the Office of Housing and the Minister for Housing, Wendy Lovell, and it seems to be heading down that direction. And as a public housing tenant, I'm a bit worried about the rent going up for one. And I think public housing should be public housing owned and run by the government. And again, I say, this Defend Public Housing rally is on Sunday, the 24th of March at 2 p.m. at Atherton Gardens Public Housing Estate, corner of Brunswick and Gertrude Streets in Fitzroy. Is a good opportunity for people to let their voices be heard and let the developers know, hands off the areas, the open spaces of the public housing estates, where we need more trees and gardens to be planted, and we need more affordable public housing, not less, or we don't need to be competing with private residential market. Public housing should be for low-income people, and it should be available, provided by the government. And
Okay, we're talking to Michael Merritt, who's a resident at the, well, you're Richmond estate, are you? Obviously, you said.
Yeah, I'm in
North Richmond, yeah.
housing.
Look, Shani Gordon, who's with the Housing for the Aged Action Group, has come in. She's sort of a replacement today for April Bragg. Wanted in. Hey, Shani, have you got any comment on this? I mean, I don't know if you've heard much of it, but...
No, I apologise for coming in late, but
No, you weren't late, you were on time.
I was on time.
Yeah,
Oh, good,
yeah.
good. Look, I guess for my organisation, Housing for the Aged Action Group, we believe strongly in having more public housing rather than less. And just listening to that last bit about the open spaces, we don't want it to be all compacted high rises. We want people to be able to enjoy their environment. So I think, and you're absolutely right, it should be the government that runs it and owns it, so that way it can stay affordable, it can stay secure, and people don't have to worry about developers coming in and taking it over. So yeah, I'm with you there.
Another supporter there, Mike.
The other thing I know at Devaney Park, and I don't know if this is a problem at Richmond, in summer it gets so hot that the people in those high-rise have to go out and sleep in Devaney Park. Now, if the same thing happens there and that area is built on, how do people cope with the heat? Is that a problem in Richmond also in summer? The flats get really hot?
Absolutely. In fact, it was highlighted on the national news recently that they're like hot boxes. And I can't see why every tower couldn't have central air conditioning piped up through to every flat. To provide a basic healthy environment for people to live. It gets very hot in the high-rise flats, and people with health conditions and the elderly and parents, young children, they must suffer a lot in the heat. I know I do. I've got a health condition and I don't have an air conditioner. I'm in the high-rise tower at the moment, and it's very hot up here, and you have to have all your fans on and the windows closed and blinds closed, especially when you have 10 days, 30 degrees plus in a row, recently it was. I think it would cost only about $200,000 or $300,000 per tower to have an air conditioner in the basement and pipe it up to all the flats. I can't see why they don't have that already, to be honest. And that's very hot up in the high-rise towers, yeah.
Yeah, we might wind up. Listen, another time, I know you're involved in disability access to transport. We should get you on in a few weeks to talk about that. But listen, thanks for coming on this morning.
You're welcome. Thanks.
And we'll be in touch.
Okay. Thanks. All the best. Bye.
No worries.
Okay, just give that date. Time,
Yeah,
the
it's
place
Sunday,
and date.
24th.
Just try to say.
Of March at the Everton Gardens in the corner of Gertrude Street and Brunswick Street. And the other thing we should also mention is the other issue at that estate is the possible loss of the original meeting place, which has been there for decades, and they were promising to keep a nice basement, but given the track record and other promises, you wouldn't necessarily take that at face value.
No, you've got to be a touch sceptical, I would have.
Yeah, so it is an important, and it's not just for public housing tenants, it's for everybody in the community, because the lack of public housing simply drives either your rent up or your mortgages up for people.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I often reflect on the fact that those estates in Collingwood, Richmond and here in Fitzroy, we were involved years ago in campaigns to try and save the housing that was there originally. Which shows how old we are. But if you look at it now, they were called slums, and it was slum reclamation it was called. But those houses today would be worth millions if they'd left them there. Just a little irony in the whole thing.
Sorry, I'm just compelled to throw in there that it's just it's really what's abhorrent about it is that low-income echelon folks were, virtually forced into these areas, and they were considered to be slum areas. They were considered to be, draggy areas, and now it's all been gentrified. They want to buy it back. And it's like, that is just the biggest slap in the face, It is so... It's just evil.
Well, you watch that high rise on the Strand at Williamstown, and you see developers going past drooling.
Yeah.
I mean,
Howland, when they said it.
yeah, when I moved into Kensington back in 1984, I mean, nobody wanted to live there, and I bought a...
That's right. Particularly once you moved in.
No, I mean, now on one side of me, I've got investment advisor, and when he moved in, I was...
Hasn't helped you, hasn't helped you at one each.
No, but when he moved in, it was during the GFC, and I said, "You're not jumping off buildings, are you?" And he hasn't talked to me much since. And on the other side of me, I've got a commercial lawyer. I mean, the only sort of rat bag left in my street is the infamous Ray from Kensington, who's a good friend. Who's a good friend from us, but it's
Bart
changed.
on the ABC.
But it's changed, and this is a problem. In the inner suburbs, they've been gentrified, and old working class people have been pushed out to the sticks.